Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Pert Near Outdoors podcast. This is your host, Billy, and we are on to episode 106. This week, we're going to be joined by a good friend of ours, Mr. Ken, also known as the Fishing Machine. Mr. Ken is a friend of ours. You'll hear the story about how we met. An extremely fascinating guy, kind of a closeted, incredible fisherman. He likes to stay under the radar. And people like this always fascinate me because they are some of the greatest outdoorsmen out there, but nobody knows about them, and that's by design. And I think there's a lot to be learned from guys like Mr. Ken. So we're gonna have a fun time here, sharing some stories. This podcast was recorded quite a while ago, so we're finally getting it out. And we're excited to do so, and now it's fishing season, so I feel like it's we've gotten a lot of stuff behind us, the shed hunting, turkey hunting. Now we're into this period. We just did our total archery challenge last weekend, had a riot with that, so we kind of got those distractions out of the way. So the next thing to focus on is wetting the line and setting the hook. So we're going to dive into some fun discussions here with Mr. Ken, myself, and the one and only Big Willie. So that's what you've got coming at you next. We did, on the topic of the Total Archery Challenge, we went down to Seven Springs this weekend. Big Jim, myself, Mr. T, who we met up with Jim DiAgostino. We met up with Jeremy and Dimitri from Antler Up. We saw Brock, which, boy, that kid, I'll tell you what, if Brock listens to this, and you'll all hear the podcast, I'm probably going to post it next week, that we recorded on Friday night. I was really giving him a hard time, and we were all having a good time with Brock. But Brock he's a fascinating guy. He's a brand new archer, never hunted before. The second time he's ever really shot his bow much. The first time being his first time to tack, and super impressed with the guy. For having no experience, he actually had much. I would say he was much calmer than the rest of us, and I think that's just he's got good habits, and he hasn't established any bad habits yet. So it was a lot of fun to meet Brock and spend some time with him. Also got to meet Tom Runskevich and Tim Seasock. So those guys, been interacting with them on Instagram for a little while. Finally had a chance to meet up with them and hang out. So we had a fantastic time. Friday night was quite the I don't mean to forget Mr. Brian Gottfried and his lovely lady Jess. They were down there and shot Thursday and Friday, and we hung out Friday night. So I'll blame most of my rowdiness on Brian because I hadn't seen him in a while, and he was feeding me Jenny Kolsch, and the rest is history. And then those freaking guys from Pennsylvania started giving me seltzers, and it was all downhill from there. So it's going to take me a while to edit that podcast. So I'm thinking next week I'll post it because I want to keep it relevant and with the times. But wow, I was in rare form. So thank God Jeremy came on to help us out a little bit. Let's just say that Jeremy was like the host of the Pert Near Outdoors podcast for next week's episode. So I hope you'll enjoy that. Had some fun banter back and forth, talking mobile hunting, shooting the Total Archery Challenge, what it means, things like that. So good times there. At TAC, had a great chance to go around. They had a lot of vendors there. The event was fantastic. I'll get into more of that next week because it doesn't really have to do with this, but fantastic time. So anybody who's going to TAC coming up, make sure you get over to the vendor village, check out some of those people there. Very excited about a lot of the things that are happening within the hunting world. So leave it at that, and I'll talk more about it in the intro next week. Let's see here. Yeah, Mr. Ken, Fishing Machine. Hope you enjoy the chat. We got a nice little tune here for you that's not our intro. It's going to be a song specially made for Mr. Ken. So I hope you enjoy this episode. As always, check out our links. If you'd like to support the podcast, head on over and go to the link tree in our bio. We have a bunch of affiliate codes with some of the companies listed on there, and you can shop through those stores and help support the podcast financially. That would be much appreciated since we are still a net loss organization. So we're working on trying to change that, but it's going to take a little work, and I got to stop giving shit away for free. So that's the name of the game there. Enjoy the show. Go out, wet a line, and keep feeding them.
Mr.Ken, that fishing machine.
Way to go, George.
In there.
And where?
My whole life stories.
Well, I figured you wouldn't want us like digging too deep, you know.
Well, check out your photos. You'll see some stuff.
Okay. All right.
Just don't post them.
You got it.
There's some personal stuff in there too, man.
Is there? Wow.
That I don't want anybody to see. If you know what I'm saying.
Wow, chicken, wow.
Pretty much.
Are you on now? Is your mic working?
Yeah, it's working.
Oh. Man down. I mean, don't I have to talk into it this way?
No, you're good. This thing is picking
it'll
up
pick
everything.
Oh,
right
like this? Is
Yeah.
that fine?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm cross-eyed, but that's all right. Here, I got a better idea.
Oh, to not have to.
There.
Beautiful.
I fling it over my shoulder and put it. Yeah, bring it right over close and
So what is there like
get it over close to you, and then you can.
Are you have like a record button or something? How's this work? Explain.
What is going on?
We'll tell you when we're on.
Okay.
I got my cords tanked. I got them backwards. That's
No, because oh my God, you're just like the kids at work. We got this huge demo going on. They can't figure out where it works. They got the inputs to the outputs and the outputs to the inputs. I'm like, did I have the diagram wrong or something?
I got this hooked up right. Well, fucking plug the power in. That's the problem.
I unplugged it because you said it was wrong and our wires were crossed.
I don't. It's
Hey,
just,
wait a second. Are you sure you got power?
Yeah.
You
yeah,
sure?
the light's on.
Yeah,
Okay.
We got power.
All
It's
right.
just my audio levels aren't as high as I would expect them to be, but
All
that's
right.
all right.
Well,
Let's let her rip.
all right.
Is it all right, or I mean, because we
No,
want good
it's
quality.
no. The audio sounds great. There's a little bit of bird action, but aside from that, it sounds
Do
good.
I have to like get my ponytail working?
You look
This-
like a hockey player right now.
You do.
You've got it all going on. What are you doing?
Yeah.
He's breaking every single
Every
rule.
rule. He's like,
We're friends. I'm
Ta-
just taking
It
pictures of my
doesn't.
buddy.
You can't take pictures of friends when friends say you can't take pictures.
No, he said I couldn't show him to anybody, not on the internet, not a word of this to anybody. I got all that. I just, for my keepsake, I want to know. Like someday when you die, I'll have it up at the funeral home. I'll be like, this is when Kenny and I did this podcast.
that was awesome when you guys showed up, man.
Oh,
You brought tears to my eyes.
Hey.
Would you believe that was 2 years ago?
was
Is
it
it?
that
Was it?
long ago?
Yeah.
That's what,
You know, and my mother would go fishing with me.
yeah.
She would
was
fish
awesome.
opening night.
I met her down here.
Yeah. Opening night, we would go out. We'd leave the house at 11:30. I'd usually head down to Pickerel Point. Wouldn't cast. It'd be like we'd do a countdown. It's 11:59. I'm getting nervous. And we would start, and she would hang out with me until like 3 in the morning.
That's awesome. That's what it's all about. Fishing buddies. Nothing better than fishing buddies. So
I have some pictures of her holding some nice stringers.
yeah.
That's awesome.
How?
we
how
ready to kick it off? Or we?
Yeah.
Or we
Oh,
aren't
okay.
live now, are
well,
we?
we're live. We're recording. It's just how it works, Dad.
Well, we need a start point.
No, we
Yeah.
don't.
Okay.
Yeah. This is just. It's happening. The conversation's just happening.
All right, we're live.
We're
Near
live.
Outdoors Vlog Talk with MRK.
Wow.
Mr.Ken. Yeah.
The Walleye's friend.
The walleyes or biggest enemy.
The Walleye's foe.
So I'm really glad that we were able to hook up and sit down because Dad and I have been talking about wanting to get you on here since we started doing this. You're probably one of the most interesting people I've ever met in my entire life.
Oh wow, you're just
And
that's way
I'm
too
not.
much.
I'm not just saying that. So I want to, I guess, just introduce you. You're Mr. Ken to us, and I got my dad Bill with us today too, and so we're sitting down out here on a nice picnic table in the nice 90-degree breeze, enjoying a nice little conversation here. So
On a certain lake somewhere.
on a certain lake somewhere in the Finger Lakes, I wanted to start out this first conversation because I think the most interesting part about our relationship with you is how it all started.
That's
because-
a story.
Yeah. So that's why I'm glad Dad's here because ultimately I know Mr. Ken from Dad and you guys became friends and then Mr. Ken and I became friends. So
Wow.
let's
Time goes
let's
by.
start there because we kind of started talking about that a little bit last week or
Okay.
the other day when you and I were chatting, and it's a pretty hilarious story how we all got to know each other.
Actually, it was kind of a day like today.
It was.
Yeah.
It was this time of year.
It was a hot summer day. My son-in-law and I were just hanging out in front of the house. I had the binoculars out. I looked over at Brian. I said, "Hey, you want to be a hero?" I said, "See that boat in the middle of the lake? I think it's sinking."
And you must have been paying pretty close attention because it was a slow sink. I was on that boat, and I did not realize it was sinking until my now ex-girlfriend, who was recovering from foot surgery in a cast,
Yeah.
was standing in the back of the boat, and she started MFing me because it was like probably the same time you realized we were sinking, she realized we were
Maybe
sinking.
that's what brought the attention to it.
Yeah, maybe she was yelling and you heard it because it was calm and quiet. But yeah, so there was water above the floor. She
The
was standing
billows
in.
broke, right?
Yeah, the bilge was not working, and we had the bellows
Yep,
broken
the bellows
as well.
ruptured on
It was like a Merc 120,
Yep.
but you got it started.
Yeah.
Just before the transoms, the whole
Just for the whole motor went under.
the whole lower unit was like underwater, and somehow you got it started. And I saw you coming in, and I'm like, I got a pump in my garage. And I ran up and got it. I'm like, you guys need some help?
Yeah,
Well, didn't you tow it in?
No!
Or did you make it all the way in, Bill?
I think I made it all in. I think it happened multiple
You,
times.
I-
Well, because you were hollering to get the boy, because I ran and
You
got
got the trailer.
and backed it through
You backed the trailer
through
in.
Tom's yard into the lake.
Into the lake, and I came running over, and it was a battery-operated 12-volt pump, and I'm like, just open it up. You opened up the back end, and I jumped in there, and and got it going, and just before it went under.
Yeah. That
No
boat
lie.
had a
I
hole.
mean, there was
And I
like
couldn't get it out without dumping the water.
Right.
I remember I hooked out of the trailer. I couldn't pull it up out of
there
there.
was like a foot of water in the boat.
Yeah.
Oh, it was a lot of water.
That was so. That started. We were renting a cottage, 2 cottages down from you, and that was our introduction to you. Was, hey, look at these rednecks that, they've got their 1980 something boat in the water and it's sinking, and
they don't even know it.
They don't even know it.
Mine's
So-
88, so.
That was how we officially met you. But then that evening, Dad came over after the fact. And
Well, it wasn't evening, if you recall. It was just before dark.
Yeah.
So it was late
And I
evening.
was out in my garage, and you came over, and you're like, by chance, do you have any tools I could borrow? I'm like, yeah. I open up the garage door. I'm like, there they are. I'm going fishing. Just put them back when you're done.
Yeah, I did. So you gave me all these tools, and we had the boat, and we pulled it up behind the cottage there, and I put out tarps and had lights, and I tore that because we were here for a week on vacation. wanted
Harv,
boat.
the mechanical wizard.
So I pull the outdrive off, rip the whole thing apart, have it all done and apart by morning, and then we go get the bellows and everything, put it all back together. But yeah, that's how I hated. MRK's got his place here, and he's up here trying to enjoy himself, and then the renters from 2
I
cottages
think
down.
at the time you would call me Ken, but
Yeah.
we weren't to the official Mr. part. That's pretty serious.
and then the short.
We didn't
version.
know the lore of Mr. Ken yet.
No, we didn't. We had no idea who we were dealing with.
No, it's just some inconspicuous guy that leaves his cottage at dark and doesn't come home until the sun's coming up. And
I couldn't remember though if I caught anything.
That night?
Yeah,
No, I can't remember. That was too long ago.
your good deeds didn't go.
I don't think I even mentioned that I was fishing, but
No, because
No,
you didn't know
I-
us enough yet.
yeah.
But then somehow we connected that you used to work with my cousin. And
Vern!
we started with Vern, right?
Yes.
Vern Lincoln, and we started like piecing it all together.
Yes, and then you knew the Ross,
Yep,
who
and
I
then
play hockey with.
right. So it's like we come to find out, even though you're living in Virginia, you used to live up here. We know all these
Marty
same people.
Reasoner.
Yeah, yeah. Was friends of ours, went to church with us. So and then we were off and running. Then we, the friendship grew from there. Pretty cool.
Yeah,
But we had no
it's
idea at the
awesome.
time that you were like the legendary
Well,
walleye.
nobody knows that.
I know. That's what I like. You fly under the radar.
Again, Dad, you're just he's a troublemaker, man.
So here's the thing about this whole thing. Since 1988 until that year, which was, I don't know what year that was, but I'm thinking it was around 2000, I always wondered who owned the inverse mohawk at the end of the lake.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And look, there we were.
Yeah, we took you up there.
So you have to explain that, right? You can tell that story. That there's what do you call it? An
Inverse mohawk.
inverse mohawk.
so it's a
when you look
mohawk.
down the valley.
Now
but
we're
it's
giving away too many clues here.
Son of a bitch, you're right.
we're like, oh yeah, we happen to have a camp right there. I
Yeah.
could take you there.
Yep.
So we went up with
On
on
the
4-wheelers
Yeah.
and got
that
some.
was a ball, man.
Oh.
We had a great time.
Yep. Went up on the mountain and then took a picture looking down on the lake.
Oh,
Remember
that's
that?
right. I took my
Yeah.
camera with the tripod.
Yeah, we took the camera with a tripod and got up on the back of the 4-wheeler and he had a beautiful view right down into the lake.
I have that picture somewhere, and I got to get that up now that we start talking about it. That was
Yeah.
gorgeous.
Yeah.
And there's potatoes there, right?
Yeah, it was
Yep.
potatoes. A lot of times they
And
grow
there's an
potatoes
elk-
up on the hill
There
there.
was an elk farm back there.
There
Yep.
was.
We took you to the elk farm to see the
Now,
elk.
without
remember?
GPS and coordinates, you probably could pinpoint exactly where that is. But
Yeah, and I'm giving away with an inverse mohawk. What the hell is that?
Right down the road from our cabin. Yeah. Okay, Dad. Real secretive here.
anyhow,
yeah.
yeah, man.
Yeah,
All good. It's all good.
it is. So I guess a little bit about yourself. Like
Yeah,
where are you from? Where you live now?
So where am I from? I grew up in the Garden of Eden, New York, south of Buffalo. And my parents had a cottage on Rice Lake, which is due north of Rochester, but in Ontario. So it was like a 4-hour drive from their house. And that's where I fell in love with the water. So I was born in March. They took me up there. My first fishing trip would have been that 4th of July.
That's awesome.
So I guess I've been fishing for 60 years.
It's amazing.
So what did you like when you were a kid going up there and fishing on Rice Lake? What did you chase?
Not fish.
Two-legged fish, or
I didn't even fish.
yeah.
We screwed around on the boats and
Skied and had fun?
Yeah. You would have loved it. It came with the cottage. I mean, this cottage was just a cottage. Our whole family owned it. There was three parts of the family. So it was my mom was a owner, and my 2 aunts. So the women actually owned it, and it was just a getaway place. And it came with this wooden homemade rowboat, and we put a 10-horse Johnson on it. Remember the old two-line gas line?
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And we would be able to water ski behind it.
Oh my!
Did you really?
On a 10-horse Johnson?
Yes!
Oh my God! That's impressive.
Yeah, we had so much fun on that thing. And then, years go by, and my parents, getting old, they finally sold it. And one of the last weekends up there, my brothers burned it, and they sent me a picture. Oh, I was so upset.
Burn the cottage?
No, they burned the boat.
Oh, burn the boat.
On accident?
No, on purpose. They threw it into the last bonfire. I was so torqued.
That's ridiculous.
It was a homemade rowboat with a flat bottom.
Yeah.
And I'm like probably 15 at the most, maybe 105 pounds. We used to get that thing going so fast, and you would go around in the bay. We would go sideways.
Yeah.
Because you pretty much get it up on plane, and you're
Yes.
Yeah.
And that thing would
Boat's not even in the water.
scream.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess that explains how you could water ski behind it. You weigh 105 pounds in a flat
We
bottom.
flipped it one time.
You did what?
We flipped it.
Did you really?
We're going around the curve. It's wide open. My buddy's in the front and the dog's in front to make it plain.
Yeah.
And he's like leaning out
To hold the front end down?
to get it even, plane in it. And so we could even go faster. So we're screaming. I'm thinking we're going probably at 25 miles an hour. And a boat went by in the ripple, and we're like going around the corner on its side, and the edge of the boat caught. Boom! Poor Spot. He flew like to the road.
That's awesome.
He's swimming around.
The dog?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like Spot. Is that a person, or is that? That's funny.
Oh my God! And the guy who ran the lodge in that bay, he comes out. You guys okay? Yep. I got the motor up. Somehow I got it started, and the boat's like 2 foot of water in it.
Oh my!
He's like, "Let me help you." I'm like, "All right." He's like, so he helps us, gets us in. He's like, "This is just between you and me. Your dad's not gonna ever know." He never said a word.
Never said anything to anybody, huh?
Something that Dad couldn't do. Yeah. He could never.
No, I couldn't do that. I couldn't keep it quiet.
No, he'd be like, "Hey, Frank, did you hear what happened?"
Anyhow.
Flipped his boat.
Wow. How did we get on that?
It's a great story.
Yeah, there's a few.
So at what point did you really get heavy into? I mean, obviously growing up in Eden, you were right off Lake Erie, so you probably fished Lake Erie quite a bit growing up.
Actually, damn, my brothers wouldn't take me.
Really?
Oh,
Are you younger than your brothers, or?
Yeah, I'm the baby.
Okay.
I'm the black sheep. So my oldest
Explains a lot.
You like that?
Yeah,
huh?
I do. Yeah, start calling you the Black Sheep, Mr. Black Sheep.
Well, that's what I was wondering is how and why on the walleye, because you are very passionate about walleye.
I don't know. I don't know how it happened. It was like a progression. Because I really didn't even fish until I was like, we'd go out and screw around and caught a few muskies screwing around up on Rice Lake. And we would catch walleyes after my brothers would go out and find them. And then I'd go over there and use worms and catch them. And they're like, "How many did you get?" I'm like, "Well, we got a whole stringer. They're easy."
So that's why you fish for them, because they're easy, right? Yeah. I wish I could say the same. I can remember the first time. It was like one of the first times we were interacting with you, and we were up catching bass. That's what we primarily target is bass. And you're like, we didn't know how to take you. You know, we were just meeting you, and you're like those things are. You know, you just have like this hatred. I think you don't really hate bass, but you hate bass. It's like it's not a real hate. It's just like a front you put up. You know, but I'll never forget that you were like, bass. I'm not after bass. We're asking you all these questions about where to go and what to do, and
Yeah, you had something. It was a picture or a statue or something about bass fishermen. Most guys fish bass because they can't catch walleye or something like that. There was something like that.
Sounds familiar. Yeah, you know, I got all kinds of crap like that.
Well, it kind of reminded me like there's different levels of fishing, right? Like you take guys that are like they're in the Bass Masters, right? And they fish tournaments and it's all about the bass and they got, you know, it's all the bass, the big bass, right? And then you got walleye guys that don't focus so much on the bass. And then even within the walleye crew, I've talked to you before about like going to Erie or trolling, and you're like, anybody can catch them. Now it's easy, you know. You got right. So then you keep breaking it down to different ways of catching. But it also makes me think about fly fishermen. You know, it's almost like
oh yeah,
you know, the
my
fly
buddies
fishermen.
and I go fly fishing. Yeah,
It's like another.
like when I did that. Here's a story for you. I do this flying fishing trip with a good buddy of mine that I play hockey with down in Virginia. I'm gonna find out they own a lodge, and this lodge is in the middle of nowhere on like 9 lakes in northeastern Quebec. It's an hour and 45 puddle jumper flight, which they don't like flying that far. I mean, you got to go over a mountain range, and there's not anything
that they can land on, or
and you got to be fortunate to like take off the right day, and then if the weather's right, they can come and pick you up. Long story short, it's basically fly fishing for salmon, which are called Wananiche. It's a Indian
called
thing.
what?
Wananiche.
Wananiche.
It's a landlocked salmon, and these fish fight like you would not believe.
Really?
So I think what do they call? Oh, I'm not up on this. There's some kind of a salmon that's around here that fights like crazy. It'll come to me. Anyhow, these guys are all fly fishermen. I mean, like big time, like $1,000 rods, $500 reels, and they got like me with walleye stuff. I take my 2 walleye rods, 6-pound test.
Yeah.
I'm like, I ain't using a fly rod. I'll cast spoons for them. First spot we go to, world record. 7 consecutive casts I catch salmon. And
on the
they
spoon with your walleye rod.
and those guys, they can't get to where the fish are. And I got the spoon. I cast it about a mile. I clipped the bail, no lie. They would hit, and all of a sudden they'd be out of the water like 4 feet.
Oh my God!
And they would be like 6 to 8 pounds. Fight like a mother. And yeah, 7 consecutive casts, fish on.
oh my God,
And landed. The next cast, I hooked into one and broke my line, tied up, caught another one. So, anyhow.
jeez.
But it's interesting the different like how people have their you have fishing and then people like within fishing they like to do their.
I don't know if you ever talk to guys that are into fly fishing, but like,
Oh yeah.
that's like
Yeah, we got
it's
some
an art.
friends that are. It is. It's like an art form. It's very elitist type.
Like
And not that it's a bad thing. I enjoy doing it. We did it in Colorado.
Yeah.
Was it last
great.
year or year before?
So getting back to your question, when did it turn into walleyes? I don't know. Actually, a buddy of mine, probably in 1987, told me about Honeyway Lake. And he said, we got to go down there. They got walleyes. I'm like, come on. So he takes me down there. Long story short, caught some walleyes. I'm like, wow, I thought they were only in Canada.
Yeah, you didn't know.
So anyhow, start fishing around New York for walleyes. I end up meeting this guy that's up on the Bay of Quinte. As a matter of fact, Tommy Roth.
Oh, Tommy, yeah.
And he's like telling me that they're going to go up on an ice fishing trip. You want to go? We go up there. I meet some guy that's got a place, and lo and behold, we make friends, and I went up there for years. And you will talk about walleyes, that's probably where I got hooked.
Really?
Casting for them. And they would be 8 to 12 pounds. I think 12 pounds was the biggest one we caught. Casting. And it would be a thing like, you want to get any? And all of a sudden, you could actually see them come in. the seagulls, like, they're killing fish, and they start porpoising. Like, it's
Really?
just unbelievable. Like, how big these schools are. And we would be, like, my buddy who lived there would put us on the spot.
So they're killing bait fish?
Yeah.
The walleyes are?
Yeah.
Now, do they hit them to kill them, or are they
No, they're
eating them, just
they're
straight up
like-
eating them?
pigging out. And matter of fact, a lot of the big walleyes that I catch spit up, like, things that you can't believe that, how did he even want to hit again?
Really?
Yeah.
So let me ask you this: is that is that fairly common if you're trying to find, like, you look for? I've heard this, that, like, you look for seagulls or some kind of
Yes.
birds, and that'll tell you kind of where
Yes.
the fish are feeding.
And matter of fact, that one that's on the wall
Mm-hmm.
in the hall, that's exactly how I caught it.
Hmm.
We were fishing in Bay of Quint, and we didn't have a boat, which I have a couple stories about that too. But so we were fishing in a marina, and I was like the last one to get there of our crew. And the docks, people would fish out the docks, you know, out into, like, it was like a channel.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm walking down, and it's not dark yet, but I'm walking down, like, onto these docks, and there's all kinds of them. And I'm like, there's no place to fish. I look out, and I'm like, well, there's one spot way at the end. I'm going to go check that out. So I'm walking out there. It's probably from here, end of the road. I noticed the seagulls. There's a few seagulls. And there was, like, a couple dead fish. And nobody's getting anything. It's really not prime time yet. So I look. I get to the last spot. I'm standing there. I see a swirl about a good cast, like, as far as you can cast away. I'm like, I'm just going to watch what's going on. Next thing I know, it's a little closer. So I'm like, okay. I wind up and I cast as far as I can to go past it and then through it. Nothing. And a good friend of mine once told me this little secret. Just before you pull your lure out of the water, stop. So I got like 3 foot of line out, and that thing hit.
Really?
3 feet of line.
Unbelievable.
And
So that one that's on the wall, that's
Yeah.
wow.
So he followed it all the way back in.
yeah,
and
it
hit
just
you.
crushed
Yeah.
it. So what they do, they're kind of like a torpedo. They're following it, and what probably happened is it went up a little bit, and you just freaking pounded it. Of course, we didn't have a net or anything, and we're on a dock about 3 foot off the water. That was a great thing to get in. And my buddy John's like, oh, I'll get it in. I'm like, I can't even see what he's doing. I'm like, oh, my God, this is like the biggest walleye I've ever caught.
Oh my god.
And you got no way to get it up on the dock.
And finally, up it came.
Yeah.
So this intrigues me. So the seagulls, like when the walleye are fishing, there'd be like you said there was like some dead fish out there or
Yeah,
something.
I mean, like,
So
all
the
fish will do that.
What's that?
All fish will kill,
I've heard that.
Minnows.
I've heard that bass fishing.
and, like, especially in saltwater. That's how a lot of guys do. I
Big
think
time
for
saltwater
bluefish.
trick. Interesting.
Yeah, like, I've heard that. I was watching a years ago, and it's like stuck with me. Bassmasters was fishing on Oneida Lake, and they were having a hard. It was kind of a rough day, and they were having a hard time getting
Yeah.
on the fish.
Yeah.
And they were just looking, and they found an area where there was a lot of seagulls, and it was way out in the middle of the lake. And they went out there and started casting
Yeah.
with crankbaits,
Yeah.
and they started pounding them.
Yeah.
So that's like stuck with me. I have never put that into action. I've always kind of thought about it, but that's interesting.
So one thing I always do is pay attention. It's
You
a
do
n-
pay attention. It's unbelievable. One time I was like, we're up here and you were out on the lake fishing. So we were like, I wonder where Mr. Ken's fishing. So we drive out and we're like out in the middle of the lake, and I have binoculars and I'm watching. And I spot you, and I'm watching in binoculars. I'm like, man, he's slamming them. Casting, and I'm watching, see how you're bringing them in and everything. And all of a sudden you turn around. I'm like, way the hell away. And you turn around, you look like in my direction, and you're like waving me over. You're like, I'm like, I come over. I'm like, you're like,
Hey.
drop anchor, fish right there.
Friends help friends.
Yeah.
I'm like, when I'm fishing, I don't pay attention to any of that. It's like I'm watching this guy with binoculars from like 300 yards away, and he sees me and waves me over.
I can remember it was early on when you first started letting us start kind of following you around a little bit, and I don't know whether it was just a joke or if you were serious, but you would always have a pole with a spark plug on it. So if somebody was being a little rude and fished between you and shore or whatever,
Yeah, those are back in my younger days.
Yeah. That was one of the things I had in my show notes is what kind of a spark plug do you throw?
NGK
one
or
that doesn't work. Right? Man, you guys aren't the only one that know that.
the spark plug thing.
Yeah,
Hey, I always joke
it's
about
for
it.
the younger generation.
Yeah. It's like just having a weapon to brandish when somebody's giving you a hard time. You're like, hey.
It can lead to trouble though.
It
Oh
can.
yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah. You drop that jig in their boat. Maybe. When you're talking about casting, you're talking like using stick baits and crankbaits and things like that, right?
Yeah.
So
do
do you prefer to? I guess you probably just do a little bit of both, right? I know that you have a lot of casting setups. You do a lot of stuff with that, but you also do a lot of worm harnesses and things of that nature too.
Let's talk Quebec.
Let's talk Quebec.
I guess,
Yeah,
I
There's
thought
a
you'd
couple-
never ask.
I know.
I got
What?
so the first time I go up on my Quebec trip, I had no idea what we were gonna do. It was a fly-in trip, 5 of us, and those guys all wanted to catch a trophy northern. It was known for big northerns. It was all catch and release though, so a trophy northern is 40 inches supposedly. I hate northerns. And I'll tell you the story why I hate them. So anyhow, we go out. It's a week-long trip, flying thing. Oh, it was a great trip. And the first time you get into walleyes where there's one after another is like unbelievable. We were jigging. We were using like 3/8 ounce jigs between a couple islands. We had no clue. We didn't even have a depth finder. These guys that we were with said, go over there while we go into this bay for northerns and maybe you'll do all right. I'm like, oh, great. I'm on a lake. I don't know. So I'm like, okay, think about walleye, right? You want to be near the bottom. No matter how, if you're fishing during the day, you want to be near the bottom. And I knew about that. And I knew that you wanted to be straight up and down. So we used wind socks. And we had a nice little chop, nothing big. Didn't we freaking come across a school of walleyes? And it was one after another. We caught like 12 in like one drift.
Oh my God.
And they were all, they weren't huge, 17 to 19 inches, but they fight like you wouldn't believe. So, yeah. So I was hooked on the jigging because I never really fished that way, jigging for them.
Yeah.
So the next day, those guys are like, we're going for northerns. I'm like, I ain't going for northerns. And it was really windy. And where they wanted to go, it looked dangerous to me. I mean, it was white capping. It's a big lake like Seneca Lake. I'm like, we're just going to stay in here. My buddy gave me his depth finder. I'm like, oh my God, look at all the fish. So we try everything. We try the jigging, can't catch them. We try, casting a couple lures that we had. And I'm like, okay, bottom bouncers. I've caught them on bottom bouncers before. Let's do that. So I got a jig on a pole, no lie. My walleye pole, which is like 6 pound test. Yeah. The jig's in the water 3 inches. Okay, just hanging there while I'm tying up a bottom bouncer rig on another pole. I look over and it's really windy, so we're like pushing up on like a cliff. I look over and here comes this log, this up out of the bottom, and I thought, that's kind of weird. And all of a sudden, it swam over and grabbed that jig. And so it's just hanging there.
Oh my God.
3 foot of line, and I'm like, it was a huge northern. So I open my bail, hold the bail, and the line's going out, not like slack, but tight. And then when I got far enough away, like 10 feet, I just gave it a little jerk because I wanted to get it in the corner of its mouth. And then, if you ever been around big northerns, they don't really fight that much.
Right.
They just go. So this thing pulled us away from shore. It went around the boat 3 times, and we got no net. And the guy that's with me is a rookie.
Oh my!
And we got it up to the boat. We got it up to the boat. We actually took pictures of it because I'm like, I'm never going to land this thing, right? So my buddy, he finally says, you know what? I'm just going to grab it. He grabs that thing in the middle, throws it up in the air, and it lands in the boat. It was a 44-inch, 20-pound northern.
What?
And
Flopping around on the boat.
Oh, yeah. And we both jump up on the seat, and that thing is going nuts. Like, just out of its mind.
That's a big fish to be going nuts in the boat.
Yes. So, finally it calms down, and the jig's still in its mouth. And I'm like, oh, we got to get that out of its mouth, man. That's just an accident. You know, I mean, here we are in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
You know, you get a hook in your hand. So, we get that out, no problem. I pick it up. He takes a couple really nice pictures, man. It's 44 inches.
It's a big
right?
one, yeah.
That's a
And then
big
he's
fish.
like, okay, just hold it long ways like this. So I'm holding it long ways, and I had a glove on, too. The thing bit right through the glove into my freaking fingernail.
Oh, Jesus.
Into your nail?
Yes, like down the side of it,
Yeah,
into
yeah.
my thumb. Bleeding like a mother. Thank God it wasn't a hook.
Yeah.
That's why I hate pike.
Yeah. I can.
Now when I have them up in Quebec, I cut the line.
Yeah.
My buddies mock me. It's like, dude, it was like a 38-inch northern. I'm like, who wants it? You're in trouble.
Right. That's funny.
Well, that was almost like when we were in Utah. I remember seeing these signs along. You remember when we were in Green River, and there was signs for. It said they were considered like junk fish, invasive species, and I think they were like it was bass and was it pike? Or
I think you said, I think it was
yeah,
pike.
I took a picture of
Yeah,
the sign. It's like if you catch
like,
these,
kill
destroy
'em,
them.
right?
Yeah, it's like they hate them out there because
Because they're fish-eating machines.
yeah, and they cherish that trout fishery.
Is that in the Green River?
Yeah.
Really? I didn't.
Yeah.
I guess I
Oh,
didn't.
yeah, they do
I'd
like
been
trout.
drinking.
Yes.
I think,
And so there's all these signs that's like,
Yes.
if you catch one of these, it's a bass, kill it. They're no good. They're invasive. I mean, so it's funny that you're not the only one that hates like northerns and
so
and
that
bass.
week, from that moment forward, I was in charge of getting all the walleyes for dinner. We'd have there's 5 of us, so we'd have 4 to 6 walleyes every night just for appetizers or whatever. And the last night, we had to fill our limit to bring back. And I guess we were allowed to get for the pilot and co-pilot too.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So I don't know, whatever that number was, I was told to keep every walleye I caught, and I went out by myself. I think I brought back 28.
Oh my God. That's unreal. Oh my God.
Well, you had a cooler. I don't know, was it a cooler? That on your boat, but you showed me a picture of all the hash. Like you marked every time you caught a fish and put it in.
Oh, yeah.
You had one trip that was, I think it was 2 years ago. Where there was 354 or something.
333.
Yeah, I remember. It was
I'm not counting, but
It was over 300 on that fishing trip.
So that trip, my first one was 286 by myself. That trip that you're talking about was 333. Last year, Johnny and I caught. We didn't get 333. I think we got.
Yeah, you
think
fell
about it.
short. I remember you.
317 or something. I was torqued, man. But the last one I caught was a blue pike,
oh yeah.
and I didn't know that.
So blue pike, they used to be in Lake Erie heavy, right?
Right.
Yeah. I didn't know anything about blue pike until my in-laws were talking about it.
Yeah, so I remember my grandfather.
Well, what's a
Go
blue
to-
pike? I've never even
It's
heard of it.
essentially it's a type of walleye, right?
Yeah, they live in a little deeper water, and they got a bigger eye. But if you look at them, and I guess they don't get that big. I can remember my grandfather saying they would go out on Lake Erie to catch them and get them by the bushel baskets,
Yeah.
and they would be just slightly bigger than a cigar, 9 to 12 inches.
Okay.
But they commercial fished them, I think.
Yeah,
They fished them
and-
right out of Lake Erie.
Yeah. So, unbeknownst to me, I didn't realize it at the time. I mean, when you're on a fishing trip, right? We caught 333 walleyes. There's going to be a last one. And it's you want to cry, right? But you don't know which one it is, right?
Yeah.
So, we got, it's time to go in, and we figured we could go out later. Well, the weather turned, and we couldn't get out again. Anyhow, I'm cleaning the fish. And I'm like, wait a second. This thing's blue. I felt terrible. It was 18 inches.
Oh, it was a good one then.
So, yeah. So, that's the thing. Where we go, you can bring back 6 apiece, 18 or less. So you got to let the big ones go, which I guess is good.
Yeah.
So out of all those walleyes, right, we caught 333, me and my buddy. So I think between all of us, we caught over 500.
Wow.
Which we should have, like, if you knew what you were doing, you can easily catch 50 a day. Yeah, so where was I going with it? Oh, I'm cleaning, and it's a blue pike, and we try to get 18 inches exactly. So, like 17 3/4, let them go. 17 7/8 if it's early, because you got a freezer that's only so big. So, yeah, we had 24 that were exactly 18 inches, and
No
that
kidding.
blue pike was the last one.
It's awesome.
But that wasn't the fish of the trip. Should we go there?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
We should.
Mm-hmm.
So we found this spot. It's the rock. There always seems to be like the rock on these lakes. It was like a big boulder at the end of the lake. And it would drop off, and around that big boulder, there was other big boulders under the water, but it would drop off rather quickly, like 8, 12, 15, and then 20 foot, within 100 yards. So we would try to go up close, drop your jig down, and you got to remember that the key is you want to be vertical as possible. And we're just using plastics. The amateurs use worms. Anyhow.
Yeah. Don't mean to. You're not looking at me or anything. Yeah.
So we're like real close. It's windy, and if you get snagged, it hoses everything up because you're using braid, and you can't. It's actually kind of dangerous because when your hands get like rough and sore, if you get braid on it, you can people have lost their fingers and stuff.
No kidding.
Yeah, like out in the ocean and stuff. If it wraps around your finger, it will take it right off. And it hurts like a mother.
Yeah.
Where mono would snap, right?
Right.
So anyhow, you got to time it. You don't want to be too close, too far away. So I got to always push it to the limit. I drop my jig down and bam, I get one immediately. I'm like, it's a small one. I get it about 3 feet off the bottom. All of a sudden, wham! My drag starts going off. I'm like, dude, I must have a northern. So I start the engine, and in reverse, I'm chasing it.
It's taking off, and you're in reverse.
And Johnny's like, you gotta be kidding me. I'm like, reel in, dude. So I'm like, look it. I think we got a chance to get this because if I get the boat in a perfect position, it's gonna swim right by it. Because the thing's like an alligator. It doesn't even realize it's not hooked. It's like shaking its head. It's trying to eat this thing in half. It's T-boned it. So,
it T-boned the fish you had.
Yeah. So,
and it took off with it.
Yes.
Oh.
So you don't have it hooked.
No.
Oh
Hooks
my
are
God.
for amateurs.
I use actual fish for bait. Yeah.
So I'm like, Johnny, we can do this. He's like, are you sure? I'm like, yeah, we got no choice. So I get the boat. I'm like, I almost got a full throttle reverse. It's like a 15 Merc. And we're catching up to it. I'm like, dude, we're going to get it. I'm going to swing around. It's going to swim right by us. You be ready with that net. So all of a sudden, it gets 3 feet from the boat. And it sees the boat, and it turns. And now I can't see it. And Johnny up in the bow, he freaking nets it, throws it in the boat.
What was it?
40-inch, 20-pound pike.
Oh my God.
That was not hooked.
That was not hooked. And that thing went nuts.
And you chase him down in reverse. You got
Yeah.
That's a fish story right there.
Isn't
That is
it?
a fish story. Yeah, that's unbelievable. You've teased that to me multiple times about the northern that you caught that you never hooked, and I never heard that full story. That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Oh, by the way.
I would pay to have been there just to be sitting on that boat to witness that whole.
Yeah, there was a
rigmarole.
lot of high fives going on that day, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the fish of the trip. I mean, there's always a fish of the trip.
It's unbelievable.
Sometimes it's yours. Other times it's other guys.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's the memory.
That's right.
Yeah.
So when you do these, you do a lot of these trips, or as far as from what I can tell,
it's
you've
like
done
an
a bunch of
annual-
them.
Yeah, well, I'm not a youngster like you.
So yeah, and it's something that my buddies and I have talked about. That's something that's our dream trip of going on my buddy Dan, he just got engaged, and he's been
He
flirting.
better do it now.
Yeah.
Do it now before kids.
Yeah, I know. So we're talking about maybe for his bachelor party, doing a trip up north. It's like, what for you, like you kind of got into doing those trips up there because you met people and went with them, and then that kind of opened doors for other.
So I'm like working on it. I'm like, that's kind of like a retirement thing for me. I want to go up and guide for Eric for the summer.
That'd be awesome.
Really?
Yeah.
We could be your clients.
Dude, I can set you up with that.
Yeah.
You probably can go up this year if you want.
Yeah. Well, if they open the borders, right?
So where I go now, it's a series of lakes, and we're in cabin 7. It takes you, so you drive up. I think what did it take us? 12 to 14 hours from Rochester. Then we spend the night. In the last 2 hours, we spend the night, and it's 2 hours from the hotel to this dirt road. The directions are drive, I think it's 128 kilometers and take a left. And then that last road is like 28 miles of dirt road. And then you end up at the lodge, and then by water to get to our cabin. It's the only cabin on this lake, which is about the size of Canisius, maybe a little bigger.
Oh my God.
And from the lodge, it's about an hour.
By boat.
By boat.
Wow. That's
It's
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something I need to experience because I love fishing.
So
and-
here's the seagull story on that.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, it set a record for myself. So 2 years ago, my buddy George Shearer, he's the guy that has the song. He wrote a song about me.
Oh, I didn't tell Billy about this.
You have a song.
I do.
Maybe that could be a song we could play on this podcast.
That's what I'm thinking.
You might have to talk to George, because he does open mic and he's like live on. I mean, he's good, right?
Yeah.
And so the name of the song is "Fishing Machine."
Fishing machine. Oh my God, we're gonna need to get that.
Yeah.
That's gonna need to be part of this.
So
So is that on YouTube? We can.
no,
No.
you got to.
You
have
said he
right-
does a live channel on YouTube on occasion.
No,
right?
I think it's on Facebook.
Oh, Facebook. I'm sorry, Facebook.
Yeah, that's right. But anyhow, so we go up there. George is a couple years older than me, and he's got some arthritis problems. And he's a really good guitar player. So he brought his guitar. And the first 2 days we fished the lake that we were on, and there was other cabins on that lake. And we caught a lot of fish. Caught some big ones too, but I think we only caught the first day I think we might have caught 40, but some of them were 26 inches long.
Oh my God.
And so we wanted to go to this other lake that I fished, but it's by boat from the cabin we were in. It was a good hour.
Oh my God.
And who knows? You got to go up this river. It's really awesome. Actually, we saw a black bear.
I remember you
on
telling
the
me
way.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wasn't far away either, was
Yeah,
it?
we went around a corner, and there's a narrows. I mean, narrow. When I say narrow, it's like a foot wider than the boat.
Oh my God.
And the current is coming through there. We got a 15, and you're almost full speed, and you barely get through.
Are you able to keep the motor down, or do you have to?
Yeah, because so we turn this corner, and we're getting ready to go up, and I look, and here's a young bear, right on the shore, right where that narrows is, and I don't know my bear. I'm guessing it was young. Anyhow, it takes off into the woods, and I can hear it climbing a tree, and out flies a bald eagle right in front of us.
Oh my God.
So we continue on our way, right? We continue on our way, and that day, George and I caught 111 walleyes. And we only fished from probably 10, because we didn't know how long it was going to take us to get back.
Right. So you didn't want to stay too late.
So,
But you were going downstream, so it shouldn't have been too bad.
Well, we took that into account.
Yeah.
So anyhow, there was a cabin on the way back that we knew the people. Buddies of mine were renting this other cabin. And they're like, we caught 20 today. It sucks here. There's no fish in this lake. And I'm like, it's sorry to tell you. So I'm like, hey, Dave. Because they had 12 guys, you know. I'm like, Dave, we caught 111, man. He's like, we're going with you tomorrow morning. I'm like, all right, you and we'll stop by. You guys can follow us. So 4 of them, 2 boats, followed us, right? And we took them to where we were catching them, right? Well, it's like the size of Canisius, right? So when you get, and it's all bays and stuff, it all looks the same. I kind of had my GPS, but, you know, it didn't seem to be working right. And I led the way, and we're, you know, a few hundred yards ahead of everybody. And George is like, look at those seagulls over there. I'm like, what are you talking about? I go, George, you sure those are seagulls? He's like, well, there's something over there. It was a loon. So we go over and check out the loon, right? And those guys are still way behind. We get within, like, here to your car, away from the loon, and that loon stands up, and it's flapping its wings, and is going crazy, and it's all kinds of pissed off, and there's all kinds of dead minnows everywhere. I'm like, George, drop your line down. I turn on the depth finder. We caught 9 walleyes in 3 minutes.
Oh, my God.
Those guys hadn't even been there. I'm like, how many you guys catch? I think that was the 9th one.
Oh, my God.
You know, they're not big.
Yeah.
Maybe 18 inches at the biggest.
Yeah.
But
that's such a great takeaway, I think, because I was talking to you about this the other day. When I get out fishing right now, it feels like there's always a clock ticking. I only have so much time. And you've been there. I know you have. And and then you just get stuck using the same thing, and you don't make an adjustment, or you're not paying attention to what's going on around you.
Adjustments are key.
Yeah. So, like, for you, I mean, not every time you go out, you're not immediately crushing them.
No.
So, like, for you, when you go out and when something's not working, like, what's your approach there? Like, if you start out with one...
watch TV? No, I don't know.
Yeah.
So, this is one of the things my brother taught. So, my brother, Tommy, who's 5 years older than me, puts me to shame. He's like Kirk Gowdy. And he's like, you got to put your time in. And you got to figure out, there's all kinds of little things you can try differently. He's the one that showed me how to catch fish on a jig with plastics. Because what they do is you hit bottom, and then you lift it up and let it swing like a pendulum. And you got to, like, before it hits bottom, sometimes you got to, like, do another pendulum. So it goes up. Anyhow, it's not like all of a sudden you feel weight. And that's the second thing that he taught me. He goes, hook sets are free. When in doubt, set the hook, man.
You taught me that.
Yeah, Rob Herman taught me that, and Donnie.
Yeah, that's their term, fly fishing, is that if you think there's something there, just set the hook.
I mean, I caught one like that today. I'm like, I was talking to Meech. I'm like, what is this? Wait a second. There's a fish.
But that's true. That was the advice they gave me with it, and I started doing that, and, you know, I got one.
So when things aren't working, you know, it depends. Like, if I've been doing good on the trip and they aren't working, I just keep with what I got. But if it's like I need fish, that's when I panic and start trying different things. Even up in Quebec, it's so weird. There will be a color that outperforms every other color. So as a result,
and is it it's a different one each day or each year?
It can change, like
during the day. It could change.
During the day. So as a result, you saw my dining room
You have
table.
Tupperware container or Rubbermaid totes full of crankbaits.
Well,
you've done a good job of keeping the economy going, sir.
The plastics are more expensive now, man.
Yeah.
Are they really?
Yeah, they're $5 a pack usually. I use Berkeley power baits mostly. And some are better than others. These tadpoles, they just seem to be fantastic.
Yeah. For everything, you're catching bass on them. You're catching.
There's no bass up in Quebec.
Oh, in Quebec, yeah.
Yeah.
But that's you're using that up there.
Here, I don't use them because they don't work. I don't know why. They must. It's weird. Like up in Quebec, I don't use worm harnesses.
It's different.
Well, it's interesting. You talked about the jigging and having the pendulum swing.
Yeah.
It's almost like I think we were using jig heads with like wax worms.
Yeah.
And that was the day I was watching you with binoculars,
yes.
And you called me over, but I was watching to see what you were doing. So You said, well, just ask me. I'll show you. So, but I never done it. But when you threw the line out, and you almost had to like let it, like it would be doing basically a pendulum swing. And
Yeah.
And I used to throw it too far. You're like, don't throw it that far.
Oh, that's another mistake everybody makes.
Yeah, which that was great advice. Nobody ever told me that. Tighten up your range, right? But then, as let it go down a little bit and then lightly lift up, which will pick it up, and then let go again, and it'll swing again, right?
Yes.
I learned that trick, started doing that, and I was hammering them.
So,
but I learned that from you. I never would have known that.
I have learned that you can actually cast too far with some types of lures, especially 3 hookers.
Yeah.
Which, oh, by the way, aren't 3 hookers for me.
You're talking like worm harnesses, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can actually cast too far, and that way they get like jacked up in the weeds and stuff.
Yeah.
Where if you just cast a little bit, you get that. Try to do the same kind of thing, a pendulum thing.
Yeah.
Because depending on like the wind, those fish will be there, and they'll come up out of the weed beds.
Weeds to get them, yeah.
And if you're, you gotta like just find where they are. Finding where they are is the key.
That is key.
Keeping it a secret is another key.
Once you figure that out, yeah. Yeah, you were telling me today about people, like especially yourself, like if you're here for a week and you're out there in the same spot, and you've got people that live here, people that are in a cottage and they're watching, you recognize it. I mean, we were up we rented a place on Canisius last week, and there was a guy religiously every night that was coming by and fishing and like right across in front of the cottage we were staying in, and we were watching him just pound bass right there.
Really?
Yeah. So, like you pick up on what other people are doing. So, of course, we went out there and tried fishing that spot during the day or in the morning and didn't catch a damn thing.
So this is what you got to watch for. Like, what does he do once he casts, right? And then he gets it in the boat. What is he doing? Is he is he adjusting something? If he's adjusting something, it's probably a plastic, right? Because even up in Quebec, you want your plastic right on your jig head.
Ah, a little trick there, huh? Watch if they're working the thing, resetting it.
Yes. Matter of fact, I usually bite a 1/4 inch off and then put it on. And sometimes sometimes it matters. Other times it doesn't.
Because you use, if I remember, like on your jig heads, you use a lot of times you use a black jig head.
Yeah, black is.
And just a grub on there. Don't you use Mr. Twisters or?
Oh, we're getting into a tricky area.
Yeah,
Oh,
Mr. Twisters. Yeah. So my favorite twister tail they don't make anymore. It was the Walleye scented Berkeley power bait.
Okay.
Black. Oh my God, I can't believe I just said that.
Well, they don't make them anymore. So those were good old days. You never know.
Guess what I found while I was here?
You found some more, didn't you?
I found one package. They're not quite the same. They're the same size, same everything, except they're pumpkin seed. I'm thinking they're gonna work.
Yeah.
I haven't been able to try them though because
everything else is working. Haven't needed to call that card yet. It's awesome. Those are great, and I'm glad we're talking about this stuff because I know we've talked about this over the years, hanging out with you. But those are things you got to remind yourself about. Like a lot of times you get out there and you want to cast. Like casting way out is fun, but it's not a good presentation of the bait, especially if you're fishing fish off the bottom.
Exactly. It's all about details. So I go fishing with a buddy of mine. He never fished walleyes, but he's a really, really good bass fisherman down south. So I bring him up north. We go out. He's catching one bass after another. He is having a grand old time. I'm on like walleye number 7. He hasn't caught one yet. And I'm like, dude, slow your retrieve down. Slow it down. He's like, so he slows it down, but like a typical bass fisherman, usually your rod is high.
Yeah. Yep.
You want it low. Anyhow. And he finally caught on. His first walleye was a 5-pounder.
Oh.
Nice.
Yeah, so anyhow. Yeah.
Another tip I remember you telling me about in a passing was like tuning your crankbaits.
Yeah.
In the
fish,
pool.
Right?
Yeah.
In a pool, yes. Because I grew up with a swim pool.
Yeah.
My dad used to build them.
But so you buy a crankbait, and just because it comes out of the box doesn't mean that it's gonna swim right.
And a matter of fact, I just bought some of my favorites, and they don't make them anymore. And I had to open up the last box that I had. I bought them last year, and off the dock, it doesn't swim right. It's broken. It doesn't. It's the weirdest thing. It's like something about how the lip goes in, something about how the what do they call them? Split ring to the lure is wrong. So anyhow, yeah.
But that's interesting though. So you actually like test float them and see how they perform and swim and.
Oh God, yes.
And some of them you can.
No, but
you
that's
can
excellent
kind of.
advice because you say you take it out of the package, you assume it's
you know
good
where
to
it's
go.
really critical is for most people when you troll. For me,
Yeah.
I cast out off my dock and I watch it come in, and it better come in on a straight line. If it doesn't, I get a different one.
Sacrifice it. But I feel like a couple of them you can actually.
You can
bend the nose on them or whatever just to
and
tweak
I
it a little.
found that you get like 1 or 2 chances of doing that, and then they're really hosed.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't have time anymore, man. The clock is ticking.
Clock's ticking. Been there, living it. I got my one rod with a drop shot on it, and I go out there. Next thing you know, it's 6 hours later, and you're like, "Son of a bitch! I never switched my pole." I got 2 massive tackle boxes full of stuff. Yeah.
I remember we did all right with drop shot.
We did. That was I just shared that picture on Facebook the other day. It was like 7 years ago we did that.
Yeah.
And if there was other pictures in that album, that was the day we caught all them bass and we had a big fish fry over here. That was so much fun.
Was that the day where you dropped the stringer off the dock?
No, yeah, I think so. With like what, 6 or 8 fish on it?
Well, it wasn't hooked to anything, and you dropped it in, right?
Yeah.
And by the way, that was dinner.
Yeah. How did we end up getting that back? I don't remember.
I think you dove in.
You dove in and caught it. They were swimming away. Remember that?
I do. It was quite the fight, if I remember correctly.
Oh my God.
Mayhem.
And
So
my-
we had the fish fry and Doritos, right? I'll never forget that. We took Doritos and we crushed them up, and we did a fish fry. It was delicious.
Yep.
Nacho cheese Doritos
Instead of breading them, we put
and ranch.
Doritos.
And ranch. We used.
Wait, wasn't it lime?
Yes, we used a lime.
Cool Ranch.
Cool ranch.
No, they were lime, right? Isn't there a lime? I haven't had those in years because they're really salty.
Yeah, and they're not good for you.
Yeah.
No, but
like-
boy, did that make a nice fish
Yeah.
fry.
That was like a limited run thing. I don't think they still make the Doritos in lime. I can't say I've seen them, but I know what you're talking about.
They
Those
were
ones,
good.
yeah.
They were good.
Oh my God, where's a bag of those?
I know. I could just pound a bag of those right now.
And then the corn roast, right?
Oh, that was awesome! I got a picture of all of us.
Yeah.
We went out. We started the fire. Had a good fire.
And I
Dug it
came
all
back
up.
in, right?
We soaked the corn in water all day, right? And then we just buried it, covered it up with the coals and everything. We went out and fished till like midnight.
Yeah, you're actually gonna bury the.
Yeah, I'd never seen it done like that. It was
You guys are like, what?
unbelievable.
I'm like, come on, man! You guys have seen everything.
We're out there at 1:30 in the morning eating corn.
Yeah.
That was good.
Oh,
Man.
it's delicious.
It was fantastic.
I
I've
wish-
tried doing that since, and it just doesn't come out the same. I'm missing a step somewhere.
You gotta soak it for a couple hours.
Yeah.
At least 2 hours. All day is preferred in ice water.
Oh, okay.
Ice
Can't be
water.
cold water. Huh?
It can't be warm.
That's it right there.
So another little tip. Maybe you don't want to go here, but I mean, do you have any special advice for worm care, like live worms?
Keep them in the refrigerator. Feed them.
What are you feeding them?
I don't know. What is that? It's like worm food.
Yeah,
It's like,
you get it
I
at
think it's got,
Petco or what?
what does it have?
I didn't know if this was a topic we could talk about. That's why I was approaching carefully. But it blows me. This separates like me from you, right? With a level of fishing, right? I like to fish,
Oh, right.
but I mean the fact that like what is
What,
that out there
using
in
the
the water?
house
I said, what do we got?
insulation for
Yeah, I mean you go in your attic and steal some cellulite insulation or whatever it's called.
for the worm bedding.
Yeah,
It's
and then
cellulose.
cellulose, whatever.
Cellulose.
It is.
So the first thing you got to do is
Cellulite's what's in your ass.
Well, I got plenty of that.
Cellulose.
If you need some. Is that good
You
for
gotta
worm
take-
health?
cellulose. You first thing you do is put it in a bucket of water and get it soaked. All right, and then
Which is what you're doing over there.
Well, I already did it. I haven't
Yeah.
cleaned up, man. Cleaning up's for the last day you're here.
Yeah.
So anyhow, then it's soaking, and you take it and you squeeze all the water out of it you can and put it in your worm box. And then ideally, you take your worms and put it on top, and the dead ones won't go down, and then you throw the dead ones out.
Oh, because they're still laying on top. Because when you
Yes.
flip it over and dump it.
And then the bonus round is it's cornmeal. That's what's in that.
Oh, okay.
But
yeah.
it is actually a nightcrawler food.
Yeah.
So you know why I know all this? You're going to love this. I didn't even think of this story. How do you think I got involved in hockey?
In hockey?
Yeah,
It relates to healthy worms?
it does.
I
I'm
have no
12
idea.
years old. The Buffalo Sabres start up. I want to play hockey. My father's like, I'm not paying for it.
Oh,
I'm
my
like,
God.
all right, I'll go make my own money then. He's like, okay, what are you going to do? I'm like, well, Cliff runs that worm business. Doesn't he need night crawlers? Yeah. All right, how do I do it? I know how to catch worms because I caught worms. I'm 12 years old. I've caught worms at night. It's spring. Come to find out, I was getting paid $20 for 500,
Oh my God.
and I could get 1,000 every night. So
Really?
I made enough money to pay for my hockey.
That's awesome. That's unbelievable.
So that's why I know a little bit about worms.
Yeah, you had to know about worms.
Yeah, man.
Jeez.
It was your living.
Yeah.
It
It was
was.
your living. You weren't a big fisherman then.
No,
Who knew, right? Who knew?
I didn't. I fish for bullheads and stuff. But
That's pretty
Oh, my
awesome.
God. So what's your favorite way to eat a walleye? Do you have a
you
favorite?
know what? So now that I'm getting like I need to be healthier, I been doing them on the grill.
Have you?
I got this grill plate, like one side's smooth, and the other one's got.
Is it perforated?
No,
Oh, okay. All right.
it's Teflon actually.
Oh, okay.
So I start the grill up, throw that on, get it as hot as you can, and then I take a bowl with the fillets and I cut like the tenderloin part and the tail. So one half like of the fillet is 2 pieces.
Okay.
I throw like 2 dabs of butter in it, maybe a little olive oil.
In the
Mix
bowl
it-
or on the griddle thing?
Probably in the bowl. I
Okay.
don't know. It depends. But I got this stuff that I got at the outdoor show. It's a seasoning. It's really good and it's got no salt in it.
Nice.
And so I kind of blacken it, but just before it gets black, it's brown. And what I found is, a lot of people say you don't cook fish too much, and I find that just the opposite. I cook
Really?
it just before it burns.
Yeah, see, a lot of people do talk about just put it on 5 minutes, flip it, you're good, you know.
I think it leaves it fishy. I think what you need to do is cook the fresh water out of it,
Okay.
and I think that's what makes. Of course, with walleyes, they don't really.
What's that?
With walleyes, you don't really have to worry about that, but more for bass.
Yeah, yeah.
So then I'll serve it over rice.
Nice. So you just the seasoning, you roll it in the seasoning, put a little bit of butter.
No, I
and-
put it in like a
oh,
bowl.
the
and
bowl
just-
that you mix, like
yeah, and take a spoon, get it all like either olive oil or butter, and throw it on, man.
Nice.
Takes like 10, 15 minutes.
Well, when you weren't concerned about your health, how was your favorite way to eat them then?
Well, you guys know that.
The fry.
Lime Doritos.
So actually, Italian breadcrumbs. And the way I used to do it, it was awesome. I had this. I still have it actually. It's an electric frying pan, and you know how most like
yeah,
dials.
we have one of those. Yeah, you had the dial on
Yeah,
there.
and it's got the numbers on it. Like
Yeah.
2, 3, 350,
Yep.
4, whatever. Mine's got the numbers, but it also has things like chops, and then
Yep.
I think it's right
I've got
around
one that has that on there too.
like 400 is fish. And now I can't see what the fish, so I took a red marker. I put in like a quarter inch of oil.
okay,
turn it
and,
to
and then
fish,
just
let it-
heated up the electric fry pan and fried them in there. Okay,
Yeah, it's like the perfect temperature.
cool.
And I do, egg whites, 2 egg whites, not the yolk, and Chick-fil-A they have these packets of buffalo wing sauce.
Ooh.
And it's perfect. You throw one of those in and like a teaspoon of milk.
Really?
You beat it up. Yeah, it just gives it a little tang.
And you, so is that?
So that's like my wash.
That's in the pan, or you wash it and then put it in the pan?
That's in a bowl. You take your fillet, go through that, and then I like dab it in Italian breadcrumbs. Progresso's the best, but
Nice.
so that's Italian in my blonde hair.
There you go. Yeah. And your
long blonde hair from the...
Your Barry Melrose
COVID.
hair.
That's right.
I know.
Yeah, you belong on,
If
Hockey
get him a
Night in
mullet, he'd be
Canada.
like
Can you
Joe
believe
Dirt.
it?
Yeah. It looks better than I thought it was going to. I didn't know what we were going to see when we came down
You
here
should see
today.
my beard, man.
You were full blown?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Wouldn't have recognized you.
I didn't recognize him when I come down the road, and he was like, the hair sticking out from under his hat. And
Yeah, he's
everything.
got his Timberlands on, not laced up.
Who the hell is that?
Yeah, right.
You never know.
That's right. That's Pandemic Ken.
So I had picked out a couple stories. You wanted to hear that one about the muskie?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So this is about the time that I was getting into fishing. So I'm like 20, 21, and my two brothers, me, and our neighbor up at the lake, we go out trolling. It's probably 4th of July. I don't know. It was this time of the year. Hot summer day. We're catching nothing, and we love to troll. I don't know. We were stupid. And because we caught some nice fish, but we could have
You could have killed him if you weren't
Yeah.
constantly moving.
Yeah. And of course, back in those days, we would always have a cooler of beer in the boat. And
Sure.
That's all that we were doing is drinking, basically. And it's
Driving
like-
slowly up and down the lake drinking.
and we knew where this rock pile was out in the middle of the lake. And everybody's got to be like trolling. They're all these guys. There's 3 other guys, right? And everybody's got the same thing on. And I'm like, why are we doing that? I'm going to go through my tackle box and I'm going to find something. So one lure after another, man. I cast it out as far as I could. We're trolling, nothing. I come across a Rapella, black and silver Rapella. It was about that big. I don't know, number 9, maybe 11. It's probably 11. We're out in the middle of the lake. I cast, and it's dead calm. I cast it as far as I can, and it hits the water, and this muskie comes out. The whole head just grabs it and rips that thing. My pole goes...
As soon as it hit?
Yeah, like, that was the only hit we had all day, right?
Oh my
So I'm like, oh, dude, I got something huge. And the thing goes down about 12 feet and comes right out of the water. And they're like, what are we going to do? I'm like, well, you guys are the big fishermen. I'm like the rookie. I got the thing hooked. Now you guys help me get it in the boat. So they reel in their lines, and we get it up. And that thing was fighting. The drag's going on. I get it up. I don't remember total story, but I know it went around the boat like twice. I mean, it's a big muskie, right? And now I got it played out. And oh, by the way, I got 10-pound mono.
Oh my God.
And it comes up to the side of the boat, and it's just laying there. It's got a head the size of mine on it, and it's probably, I don't know. I remember it being over 40 inches.
Yeah.
My brother's like, that thing was about 32 inches. I'm like, well, get it in the boat. Well, with this net? I'm like, yeah, whatever. So he takes the net, he goes to net it, and the thing, it hits the net, it jumps straight up in the air and right through the net, and see you later.
Came off?
Yeah, he got
Ripped the line?
He got my lure.
Yeah.
In the net. It was great. I'm
Oh, he
like,
caught your lure.
Yeah.
That's good.
yeah, I didn't lose it. I was so torqued.
That's
Oh, never got in the boat.
Never got it.
that's the muskie
bummer.
through the net story.
Yep.
Have you ever caught any other muskies?
Yeah, they're all small, like 30 inches.
Yeah, nothing like that, huh?
No.
That one Donnie caught this weekend was pretty. That was wild.
That was
You
incredible.
know, I'd like to target those.
I know. Well, they were all over the place. I
Is
couldn't
anybody
believe it.
targeting them? I mean,
You see guys
I
out
didn't
there
see
specifically
anybody
fishing.
specifically fishing for them.
I told you about that northern today, didn't I?
No. Wait. Well, I don't know. We've talked a lot in the last few days, and a lot of your stories, they all run together. Because they're all just like, yeah, I've caught 47 fish today. They're hitting.
No, it wasn't 47. It was
I know.
more like
What
20,
happened with the northern
27.
today?
So I got about a 14, 15 incher on. And the water's so clear, I can see it coming up. You know, I'm like, you know. So I'm reeling it in. And anybody that says that walleyes don't fight, I don't know what they're talking about because these things they're 15 inches and they're taking my drag out. And so anyhow.
On a walleye?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and these little ones seem to fight harder, actually. And the thing's going nuts on the side, and the sun's beating right through the water. It's dead calm. And all of a sudden, this northern comes up out of nowhere and tries to eat it, and it missed it. And then it went down.
Big one?
It had to be like...
It was going to eat a 15-inch fish.
It had to be like It had a big head on it, man. The head on it was like that big.
Jesus.
I know they caught one through the ice like 20 pounds one year.
You know, there was a time where they weren't in here.
I know. Somebody's putting them in here, and they should be
Yeah,
shot.
because I remember I remember years ago, 10
They
years
should
ago.
get a spark plug at their heads.
I caught one out here.
Not
and
that
I was
had-
telling you about it, and you're like, there's no northerns in there. I go, I'm telling you, I got a northern.
I know.
And then all of a sudden, people started getting them, and now they're getting big ones out of here.
So let's see. We could talk about ice fishing.
Do you fish walleye
What-
through the ice? Or when you go on your trips up up north, what are you fishing for through the ice?
Walleyes.
Are you?
Yeah. It's a ball, but pretty much I ice fish because I lived up north, and that's what
Yeah.
you do.
That was the only
Yeah.
reason, right? It has
Yeah.
something to do.
We used to catch them on little Cleos,
Yeah?
which is, you know what a little Cleo is, right? It's a spoon for like salmon.
Yeah, little one.
How big is it?
So we used to use the ouncers, chartreuse and green used to be the ticket.
Wow.
That was back when the bills were good. We'd go up there. Because I can remember VHSing the games and coming back and
Yeah.
watching them afterwards. But yeah, I got some pretty impressive pictures. I mean, we would get them 8 to 12 pounds.
Jesus.
Yeah, but they taste like dog. But they are fun. And again, that was through Tommy Roth and...
But they weren't good eating in the winter? No.
yeah, they're too big.
Yeah. They get to a certain point where they're...
Yeah.
That 18-inch range is probably about a sweet spot, isn't it? Or,
Yep.
That's why
Actually,
you keep all the 18 inches.
18. You know, it's so weird. When you're up in Quebec, you can actually tell an 18-incher by looking at them because they like get shoulders on them. 17, they don't quite have the shoulders.
No kidding.
Yeah, it's
They
weird.
get physical features that you can identify, right?
Yeah, it's weird. So, anyhow.
What's the story on... You said you got a story on the rowboat where the lake froze behind you.
Well, you were ice fishing. It kind of ties right into the ice fishing.
Yeah, so we would go up ice fishing in the Bay Quint with a bunch of guys. And, you know, you go up there and... That particular weekend, a storm came in and we couldn't leave, so we went fishing. Well, that storm hit here, too. And that's a whole nother story. But anyhow, that time of the year, it was probably February. A lot of times, and I think it happened this year, like 40 to 60 mile an hour winds will come out of the south, right? When it's
Yeah.
first getting warm
Yeah.
and just blow. Well, I used to have the aluminum boat out front, and it caught that and blew it up into the air, and it ended up in the next bay where the ice had opened up,
Okay.
but then the next day it froze up. So my wife calls me. She's like, your boat just blew into the lake. And, you know, you can hear the wind. I'm like, well, what do you want me to do about it? Well, you're going to have to come take care of it. I'm like, I can't do it today. Well, when you coming home? I'm not sure. So I get home probably longer than I was supposed to. And here's my boat, my aluminum boat, stuck in the ice. And there is ice in the boat. Have you ever picked up ice?
It's heavy.
Oh, my God.
It's ridiculous. It was like 4 inches by like whatever. So the neighbor had their boat out. So I got my little 4-horse, and the water had opened up enough where I could get to it. I went out there. Oh my God. I struggled. I got it back in.
Did you put a motor on it?
No, I like towed it. I put my
Okay.
motor on my neighbor's boat.
Oh, okay. And use the motor to go out and get it, and you hooked on and towed
Yeah,
it
and I
back.
can remember trying to get that ice out, and I ended up towing it back like half full of water, and oh, that's a nightmare. Yeah, it's great.
What do you got on your little list there? You got a list. Is that your honeydew list, or you got
It is.
memories?
Oh, here's a great Queenie story.
Yeah.
I'm glad I came across this. This is back in the day, right? So I meet this guy, John. He puts us up in his house. He's like, okay, the bite's on. Come on up. So we would go like the next day, right? And the fall was the best time. So these walleyes come in off of Lake Ontario into the Bay of Quinte, and it used to be somewhere around Halloween. So that time of the year, right? And it could be gorgeous weather, it could be really bad.
Yeah, you don't know what you're gonna get, right?
And he's like, you don't need to bring a boat. I got a boat all ready for you. Well, what he didn't tell us is the boat didn't have a reverse in it.
That's interesting.
So we launched the boat, right? And we had to turn it around because you got to get the bow out front, right? And he told me how to start it because he couldn't come, but he was sending his buddy that was going to help.
Yeah.
And, we drive from Rochester. Is like, I think we can make it under 4 hours, right? So we get there. It's like premium time, just before dark. We're launching the boat. Everything's good, except for no reverse. So my other buddy, he gets in the boat. Phil's on the dock. Phil's the local guy. And John told me, he's like, pull the choke out. Then all you got to do is pull it, and it will start, and then throttle down, and it will be in gear, but it will be going really slow. And what possibly could go wrong?
Yeah, this sounds like an accident waiting to happen.
So we do everything. Well, I couldn't throttle it down, so it takes off. But
you
Pete,
pull the cord and you take off.
Pete, so Pete and I are in, and we got all our gear in, but Phil's back on the dock, right? And now it's dead calm, right? So, and we're out about 100 yards, and we're like, what are we gonna do? And Pete's like, well, can't you throttle it down? And I'm like, okay, let's see how slow it will go without stalling. So we get it down to like trolling speed, which is still pretty fast, right?
Yeah. A couple miles per hour, right? Is that what you mean? Yeah.
So Pete says to Phil, what do you think about jumping?
We'll go by and you jump in.
November 1st. Yeah.
All right, let's try it. So we go, and here we are. Oh, my God. Phil jumps in the boat. He made it. And we don't know this Phil.
You don't know him?
No, other than he's a friend of just John.
Oh, you didn't even know it wasn't one of your buddies.
No, it wasn't my buddy. He says, man, thank God I didn't hit the rod in my leg. I'm like, what are you talking about? I got a rod in my leg.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my God.
So we proceeded, no lie, it was probably one of the best nights on Bay of Quinte that I can ever remember. We went out, the three of us, you could keep 4. We kept our 4, so we had 12 walleyes. They were so big, and we didn't have a stringer. We had a net, but we didn't have a stringer. So they're just flopping in the boat, and it's cold out, so they're fine. And they're all like 8. I think the biggest one was 12. We had 11, a couple 10s. Yeah, there's huge fish up there.
Jesus.
Yeah.
How far up is that?
So you know where Kingston is?
It's just across Alexandria Bay, right?
Yeah. Yep. So you go across 81, and then you head back towards Toronto. You go through Kingston, and it's like 20 minutes from there. You go south onto 401. It's called Picton. So lo and behold, I'm telling my mother this story, right? That we're going up to Picton. She's like, oh, that's where your Aunt Eunice caught a 10-pound walleye. It's on a plaque up there on a trophy. I'm like, what are you talking about? They used to go, it's called Hay Bay. So before they had the cottage, they would drive from Buffalo up there about probably a 6-hour drive. And I guess back in the day, if you caught a 10-pound walleye, they put it on this it was a monument in there. Lo and behold, I didn't take a picture.
There's your aunt,
an idiot. Here's my Eunice Knoll, 10-pound walleye. Caught on a yellow Sally. You know what a yellow Sally is?
No.
It's like a fly.
Huh.
And it's like about that big. Pretty good hook, and it's yellow. And then they used to put like a spinner. You ever see those? I mean, this is old school.
Yeah, with a spinner on the front of it.
Yeah, you'd put, it would be like a different piece of it. It didn't
Right.
come with that.
Right. It didn't come with it, so
Yeah.
you added on. You had the spinner.
And
on
then
the
they
front.
would put a leader to a swivel and then a sinker. And back in those days, there were the sinkers with the rubber. You ever see those?
I don't think so. No.
So they look like a torpedo, and inside of them is a rubber thing, and you twist them. So the line gets twisted around this rubber, and that's how they would stand in your line. Yeah.
I never even seen one of them.
Well, there you go.
Yellow Betsy.
Oh, here's another Bay of Quint story. So we're finding out we're catching all these big walleyes up there in October, November. Loving it, man. So John says, "Yep, I got a good boat for you this time." So we go up there. Yeah, it was pretty good. It must have been all of 10 foot long.
What?
And Bay of Quint is like Lake Erie or... You know what I mean?
This John guy sounds like a piece of work.
Oh, yeah. So, what am I going to do? I got my little 4-horse. I put it on there, and with my little 4-horse, it's like about 6 inches off the water. And I'm like, okay, yeah, this will work. So he's like, you got to take my buddy with me. So another guy I don't even know. We go out there. I feel pretty safe because it's not rough at all. And, we got lights. Not on the boat, of course, but, everything's kind of cool. And,
You night fishing then?
yeah, we catch them at night.
In a
Okay.
10-foot boat.
So, the wind starts picking up, but also the fish start hitting, right? And
So you're torn.
So we're getting...
What's the safe thing to do? But they're hitting.
So we're getting fish. At the time, I'm going to guess like 4 to 6 pound walleyes, like maybe one every 20, 30 casts, action. And all of a sudden, that porpoising that I told you about happens. And I'm like, holy crap, a whole school of them's coming in. I cast out. It's the only time in my life I caught 2 walleyes. Between the 2 walleyes, it was over 19 pounds, and neither one of them were 10-pounders. They were both 9.5 pounds.
On one...
On consecutive casts.
On consecutive casts, yeah.
And the guy that I'm with, I can't net them by myself. I do all my stuff, right? But when they're that big, it's hard to do it by yourself, right? So he nets it, and he can't get it in the boat. Oh, my God. I'm like, we're going to go over.
Yeah, you're in a 10-foot boat, right? And he's hanging over the edge of it.
Somewhere I got a picture of that. I got to dig that up. Because I'm like, okay, we're done. We're not going to get any better than this.
Called it a wrap on that one, huh?
Yeah. Oh, and then you learn little, we said about it's all about details, right? Like I like a specific swivel when I'm got like divers on, and some crankbaits and things you want to tie direct, others you don't. You got to kind of figure that out on your own. Again, it comes down to how it dives. Is it straight, whatever. So one day, I hear this young kid and his father, they're fishing for bass, and the father's like, just before dark, he's like, let's go. And the young kid, he's like 10, says to his dad, Dad, let's stay for 5 more casts. Father casts, counts 1. I can hear them, right? Because they're like right out front.
Yeah.
The kid goes, okay, number 5 coming up. Don't they catch this huge bass, right? And I'm like, that was the greatest thing that kid said that. And ever since then, that's what I do. When it's time to leave, 5 more casts, and I can't tell you how many fish I've caught on that last cast.
But
That is awesome. That's
then after that 5th cast, you're like, 5 more.
Yeah.
No?
Did you have no? Because if you on that 5th one, you catch a new fish. Now, are they hitting now? You gotta stay for a little longer.
I've been there too, man.
Like you're looking at your watch.
So
and
you
it's
thank
like,
the fish gods and go on your 5th cast.
If you catch one, that's
Hey,
great.
did I ever tell you guys about the brown trout that I caught in a lake that has no brown trout?
No.
No.
Yeah.
It's almost
Lakes-
like a miracle worker.
The lake's only known for bluegills, largemouth bass, and occasional walleye. I guess it has pickerel too. No bass at all.
Where's this lake?
Western New York.
Yeah.
So I'm fishing with my mother, right? And it's like 2 o'clock in the morning.
Your mother's out fishing with you at 2 o'clock in the morning?
Yes. It's opening night. And we got a few on the stringer, right? Searching for that. Well, she had to actually get a license. So we probably had 5. We probably needed 1 more to get 6.
Yeah.
Right? 3 apiece. I'm like, there it is, Mom! And all of a sudden, the thing's screaming right to the middle of the lake. Zzz, taking my drag out. I'm like, what the heck? You know, like a smallmouth will do that.
Yeah.
You know, a big small. Well, this was even bigger than that. And I'm like, I have no clue what this is. Next thing I know, it goes the other way. I'm like, wow, this is a big fish. Because I had heard it up on shore, thrashing on the minnows, and I casted right into it, and the thing just crushed it. Come to find out, it was a 22-inch brown trout.
Really?
Yes. So I told it, yes. And I told the DEC officer. He did not believe me. He says, you're full of crap. I'm like, okay, whatever. Because I went to a DEC off, I think that same weekend I caught a northern. Because they said there's no northern in there either. I'm like, well, I beg to differ.
So in the same body of water, you got a northern where there was no northern,
Yes.
and you got a brown trout where there's no trout.
Yeah.
That's-
Brown trout I got mounted, and it's in my office. It's awesome.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Did
Your office at home?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that.
how do you figure
When we were down there.
how do you
Remember that.
figure it got in there? Do you think it got in there naturally, or do you think somebody dropped it in?
Well, that year, I think I actually caught another one, but it was only like 12 inches.
You'd have to imagine where there's one, there's got to be.
You would think.
Yeah.
But I think about brown trout, I don't think you can fish for them after dark. It might have actually been an illegal fish. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I think for
But is it
trout-
illegal when they're not supposed to be in there?
Well, it's like shooting a Bigfoot, right?
Well,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or a mountain lion.
they didn't even
There's no
believe I
mountain
caught
lion.
it, so.
That's amazing. I feel like I've heard that, but I haven't heard it. I've heard of the lore of that one fish that was caught out of here. Things that make you say,
Yeah.
Well, we should probably wrap this up.
Is
You,
that-
you got another one for us? You got a closer?
You want to hear about Otter Point?
yeah.
I think that may even be a fairly recent story.
It is.
I want to hear it.
So I'm fishing, right? And it's dark. It's really dark. And it's dead calm. I'm not doing anything. I come across this point that I've had really good luck on. You know, you got to go where you've had good luck, right?
Yeah.
Even though you haven't caught anything before you go in because it's right on the way home.
Yep, you know your spots.
And it's dead calm. All of a sudden I hear something munching. I'm like, oh, that's kind of weird. And I'm like, what could be eating something at 1 o'clock in the morning? We're like right on shore, like 3 foot of water. I turn my light on. Here's an otter with a clam, just chomping on the clam, eating the clam.
Really?
And I'm like, from here to the tree away from it. Oh, the thing's not doing anything. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to get a little closer to see if it really is a clam.
They're pretty big, aren't they?
It is. It's
Not the
got a
clams, the otter.
melon. Its head is the size of a muskmelon. Like way bigger than a raccoon. Way bigger than a fox.
Yeah.
You know, I used to trap, so I kind of know my animals. And I got up to this thing, and finally it spooked. I was 10 feet away from it. I have the light on it, and that thing swam like a seal. So fast, it went out.
It headed out into the lake?
Yeah. And I'm thinking, that thing's history. Oh, no. I wanted to go get another clam. It got another clam. I drifted out maybe about this far again.
You think that's why it went out, was to get another
Yeah.
clam?
Oh, no kidding. It wasn't going out because you really spooked it. It
No.
Just,
And it's just sitting there eating these clams one after another. And I'm like, no wonder I'm not catching any fish.
this thing's in here just crushing, just clamming.
So I've
It's having a
gone
clam
back
bake.
every night since.
To
Thinking
try
I
and
could
see
take
it?
a picture.
Yeah.
The one night, I got to learn more about my camera. I see it. It's there. This is a few nights ago. And I get like 10 feet away from it. It's eating a clam. So I go to take a picture and the flash wouldn't go off.
Oh, no.
So I don't know, man. Maybe something's wrong with my camera. But yeah, so like last night I was checking it out. He wasn't there. But I did hear a bunch of stuff, right? I'm like, oh, he's here. I can't see because it's dark. It's a flock of geese.
That's what you were hearing?
Yes.
Were they eating clams?
Yeah, I know, right? Anyhow.
Do you have anything you didn't? You had a whole list of stuff.
No, we hit on a lot of it. No, that was awesome.
So.
Oh, the only other thing was the like restringing line. I never, just the little things, and that's why I like.
What, putting line on your reel?
Yeah.
Oh,
like
there's a
I was
technique
watching
to it.
you one time, and you go way out on the dock, and you tie
stretching
this
out.
line on.
Yeah.
And then you're all the way back up here by the cottage, and you're like pulling and going back. And I come over, I go, "What are you doing?" You're like, "Well, I'm putting a stretch on this line here. It's a new line. You always stretch your line before you put it on."
Yeah.
Like, I never knew. Yeah. So I mean, just the little things. That's what, like fishing, like you say, it's the detail stuff.
Yeah.
And man, once you get it, like, I mean, you're
I
obviously
forgot about
very,
that.
very
Yes,
good
I
at
do
it.
that on monofilament.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I used a copolymer mono at the time, but now I'm into this Ultra 8 braid, not normal braid. Berkeley makes it. It's awesome.
So
you don't have to pre-stretch it?
No,
well, is it braid or is it not braid?
it is braid,
Okay.
but I guess it's got some mono properties.
Okay.
So it's like a hybrid.
Yeah, it casts like a mile. And
But you don't want to do that always.
depends what you got on.
Yeah.
If you got a stick bait on, you want to cast as far as you want. And well, here's the thing about casting, right? When your lure lands, you hope to hit water.
That's desired.
Because in the spring,
Outcome.
the fish are right on shore. Nobody understands that, but
Like right on shore. I've fished with you before when you're like, it's like, I wouldn't think of throwing in there. And you throw it, in the last 4 inches of water, you're throwing a line.
you know why that is?
I don't.
Because
Oh, is that where the bait fish are?
yeah, and a lot of the key is to find like a shelf that's 1 to 2 feet. So the walleyes come in and push those bait fish into that shelf,
And then just
and that's
take
why you
out.
want to be above it.
Coming into it.
Yeah.
Good advice.
I'm so glad this is being recorded because there's a lot of things I need to listen to.
Yeah, we'll be listening to this over and
Listening
over.
skills are key, right?
That's what I love about the podcast, though, is that these conversations, we have them all the time, but it's like you're always doing something and you do it for a few days, and if you're not repetitively thinking about it or doing it, you forget about it. So like this is recorded forever, and I can listen back to this
There you go.
once a year before fishing season starts, and I can be thinking about all
You
the
gotta
things.
pay attention, man. You hear something coming up the shoreline, guess what? It isn't like a duck. It's amazing how noisy they are.
Yeah. So I guess I'll throw this at you. The other night, Donnie and I tried fishing 2 nights in a row on Canisius.
Yeah,
We
that
went out
fish
at
is
like
hard,
10.
man.
But it was interesting. Like the fish were surfacing, I don't think we were pretty confident it was all just bait fish
Yeah.
that were jumping and surfacing and splashing.
Otherwise,
L-wise, yeah. But nothing was hitting. We were surprised that there was, it's perfectly calm. We're throwing top water. We're thinking we're going to just have a field day.
you know how we used to catch them on Canisius?
How's that?
Probably can still do that. So my buddy used to live there, and he had down this technique that worked perfect. We troll. Got to do what you got to do with number 9 black and silver repellers.
Oh, that's what I used to use, the black and
And-
silver repeller.
As you trolled, you'd like pull it forward, let it drop back. Pull it forward. So the boat's going like 1 mile an hour. So you pull forward, so the lure's going a little faster. And man, they would just pound it. And I don't even know if I could find the spot anymore.
What would
It was
pound it?
on-
What were you catching doing that?
Walleyes.
Yeah. Okay.
And over there, a 24-inch walleye is like, can be pushing 8 pounds. They're like
They're tanks,
short
aren't they?
and fat.
Yeah.
Is it because are they eating those alewives? Or?
Yeah.
Is it alewives or ally? What is it?
I don't know.
It's just whatever.
They
It's
taste
al
like-
something.
Yeah. Like the walleyes over there, you can't eat them.
No.
Even tried them on the grill. They're greasy. And if you look at a picture out of one, they look different too. They got the same head, but their bodies.
Yeah, I've seen that with the body. I've just seen some friends that posted some pictures of walleyes they had up there, and it did.
There's some big ones in there,
Yeah.
man. I mean, like really big ones. But,
So that's a
so,
good tactic.
There you go. So I'm going to give you a couple of my favorite shows where I learn a lot of stuff.
Oh, another hot tip.
Yeah. There's a show that's on YouTube called The Next Bite. And that's pretty awesome. It's a couple of walleye pros, and they got all kinds of stuff. You got to, you sort through what you can apply.
Yeah.
But it gives you ideas of,
Are you saying that you're constantly continuing your education and growth in this
Yeah, I'm
pursuit
working,
of
I'm working
walleyes?
on my PhD. I always tell my wife I'm going back to school one of these years. So
How does she feel about that?
she's like, you can do it, Mr. Ken. Right? Biden's got like 400 degrees.
Yeah.
And he's a master of whatever. So
Right. Just keep stacking them up. Yeah. What other shows? Next Bite is a good one.
There used to be this one, Angler's Edge, which was
I think I'd seen that one.
Al Lindner at his finest. And there's a weekly newsletter that comes out. What is that one called? That's really good. They can have all kinds of interesting stuff. I'll send you the link to that one.
Is that a YouTube thing too, or is it?
Oh, they have
Yeah.
YouTube things on it. Like right now, they're pushing. A lot of these things are like commercials, really.
Yeah.
For their sponsors
Right,
and
right.
whatever. But
For gear and everything.
yeah, so the big thing right now is slip bobbers. So using leeches. So guess what? You can't find leeches.
Because
Yeah, 'cause everybody's using them on the slip bobbers, right?
That's the way it works.
Actually, that's what I wanted to find, but there are none. So I had to go back to my original plan.
Your
It's
little
working.
worm farm.
It's working. Mr. Ken's Worms.
That's right.
That's what we'll name this
You like that, didn't
episode. Yeah. Worm farming with Mr. Ken.
That's
See?
right.
See how that ties back to hockey?
Yep.
Mhm.
Hockey finance. Through.
You got to be itching to get back on the ice.
Oh, stop. So, isn't it kind of funny how the limit is 3 and a hat trick is 3?
It's not that funny. It's a crazy coincidence. It's the only way that you're surviving not being on the ice is your ability to.
I sent our commissioner, I'm like, okay, another hat trick today.
Yeah, hopefully soon enough this will all
Yeah,
calm
what
down
is the
and get back to
latest
it.
on NHL?
I still don't think that they've decided. I know that they were talking about doing that 20-team playoff, but I haven't heard any more about them actually making it happen or not.
Hey, did you hear about the draft?
No, what are they doing with that?
Oh, my God.
Oh, that was crazy. You were telling me about
Did they
this.
do the draft?
Do you want to talk about this on this podcast?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Okay, so the NHL, in their infamous ways,
Well, that's
has-
we should preface Kenny's remarks with the fact that that's Kenny's other
His other passion is hockey.
passion is hockey.
Yeah.
So
what, buy my Saber truck? What?
The Saber truck.
all the newspaper clipping articles in the fish shack.
Since I've known you, the Sabres have not been good, and we need that to change.
Oh, my gosh. Is that terrible or what?
I know.
So, in their infinite wisdom, the NHL came up with this draft lottery where if you didn't make the, what do they call
The
it?
playoffs.
Play-in.
Okay.
There's a play-in round, and then there's the playoffs. So if you didn't make the play-in, which Buffalo did not, you get so many balls. Okay, so Buffalo ended up with 8th pick, which I guess is about right,
Okay.
for how they did.
Yeah.
But the team, you know how bad Detroit did last year.
Yeah.
Like the worst team in the last 10 years. They ended up in 4th. How terrible is that? And they had this crazy lottery. I don't know how it worked, but for the number 1 pick, it's going to go to the loser of the first playoff round.
For
Like-
the number 1 pick?
Yes. So
To the loser.
So when the playoffs finally start, I guess it's going to be 16 teams. So 8 teams are going to lose, right? Those 8 teams get 12.5% chance of getting the first pick. So, like, let's say Toronto loses in the first round, they could get the first pick. Or
And Toronto's
Pittsburgh.
right.
And it's
Jesus.
like this fantastic Russian kid. So, like, him and Sidney Crosby are just going to light it up, and Pittsburgh's going to be good again.
It's all rigged. It's all about that money. Son of a bitch. I just want pro
Or
sports
Boston
back.
could get him. If Boston loses, or Tampa.
Yeah. Any of these teams, which are. The NHL is so much different than the other leagues because it's just a lot of times you can be just a couple players away from and most teams are good. They're right there.
Yeah,
And that's what's so
what
frustrating.
does it always come down to? One player, goaltending.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't care what team it is, right?
Mhm.
When the Capitals won, right? Hope he makes one save that basically won him the cup.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, those guys they never get the glory. Very rarely they get the glory, but
And oh, by the way, what doesn't Buffalo have?
a goalie. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
they just
How are we
keep
looking for next year?
this revolving door,
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I don't know.
The Bills are going to be I just
Yeah.
hope it'll be interesting. We just got an email 2 days ago from the Bills that you have the option because we have seasons.
Yeah.
So you have the option to stop your payments and wait and you don't lose your seniority, you keep your year.
Okay.
And you basically keep that money on your account for next year. But, all three of us, Chris, Danny, and I that have the tickets together, we have 5 seats, and we're like, screw it, we're going to hold on to them because let's hope in 2 months, I'm anticipating, this is my hope, is that a bunch of season ticket holders are going to drop out because of their concerns.
Oh yeah.
So let's say the stadium holds 73,000. They're going to say you can only have, 1/3 or 50% capacity.
You
So-
think that's how it's gonna go?
So that's my thought. And then because that's what they're doing with like NASCAR, they're doing like 30,000
Oh, yeah?
max at a
Okay.
100,000 person.
Okay.
And so my hope is that a bunch of season ticket holders are going to drop out. So you're going from 50 or 60,000 season ticket holders down to 40,000 or 30,000. And then the rest of us that are there, they're going to say, okay, it's only season ticket holders allowed at the games. That's my hope. Whether that's actually what happens or not, I don't know. But that's my hope. And then we just have to social distance when we're in the game.
That's football, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Just
And
wanted to make sure.
and that's an outdoor.
Because I quit
Outdoor
4
venue.
years ago, man.
You quit football.
No, Bills.
Well, yeah, but you'll come right back. I know you. That's where your heart's at. You'll be back. But that's the thing. Like, in NFL is weird because you've got the Bills who have an outdoor stadium.
Did I hear that Cam?
You went to the Patriots.
Wow.
That'll be interesting. Wow. I mean, he never scared me, and because we were never in the same division, I never really got too nervous about Cam Newton. Even when they played the Bills, it was like I just wasn't that impressed.
Yeah.
But that is a little bit. It's going to be interesting because we're going to find out if it's Brady or if it's Belichick. With Brady gone, and Cam Newton's a pretty damn good quarterback, so it'll be super interesting to see how Belichick does with him. We could be in for another few years of.
So what? So NFL, are they doing preseason?
Yeah.
Are they?
Yeah, they're starting.
Are they working out?
Yeah, they're starting that up soon. Yeah.
Wow.
They'd usually be going to camp here in July, right?
Yeah, like usually July 25th ish. They're usually starting their training camp.
Wow.
So I think they're going to get things going here. They've been doing their off-season stuff. It's just been being done remotely. Players have had to.
Because the last I heard was the NHL was going to be Vegas, one hub, and Toronto, but Ontario, the governor or whatever
heard
he's
Vancouver,
called,
right?
is saying nobody can get into Ontario.
Yeah, it's Vancouver's going to do it,
Yeah,
I think.
guess it's going to be Vancouver. How weird is that? Both West Coast hubs?
I
So,
don't know. And the
and how are they going to keep the ice? I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard to wrap your head around it. I mean, it's the same way they're going to be with basketball. Basketball, they're going to have everybody in Orlando, and but it's funny
In a
because
hot spot?
yeah,
Of
Yeah,
course.
yeah. No,
so they're gonna have everybody, and then at the same time, people are going to be going to Disneyland, but yet you've got the players that are locked down and they can't even leave the. It's just the whole thing's just crazy.
Wow.
At the end of the day, it's a crazy world we live in, Mr. Ken. But at the end of the day, the walleye are biting, so that's all that matters.
Don't let anybody know.
No, we won't publish this till like next year. So any information that's been given right now is no longer relevant.
We'll see if
different
your
weather
prediction
pattern.
comes through on your season tickets.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, we'll post this. We'll post this post COVID
That's right.
and see what happens.
Well, it's been fun, guys.
It has been fun. It's great to see you.
Great seeing you.
It has. It's time to wrap it up, and if I'm not mistaken, we got worms to feed.
Yeah, it's time.
Feeding 'em.
It's time to
I
feed them.
like it. So do you guys have like a closing theme? Like, on the Red Green show, they say.
Yeah, the Red Green show. Billy doesn't even know what that is.
Is that Canadian show?
Yeah.
You know what their closing line is? And remember, always keep your stick on the ice.
On that note.
Let's finish it right there.
All right.
Thanks, Mr. Ken. It was fun.
Thanks, MRK. Appreciate it.
It's been my pleasure.